Don't you want revenge on your enemies? Good. Use that fire. Don't waste it on hatred. Don't waste it on talk. Revenge is not a punch. Revenge is a plan. Revenge is the work you do when nobody's watching. It's waking up before dawn. It's the extra rep. The run in the rain. The phone call you make when everyone else quits. They want you broken. Show them you were built to be better. Stronger, calmer, smarter. You will not get even by breaking rules or breaking people. You get even by building yourself into something they cannot touch. Discipline. Consistency. Relentless execution. That's the revenge that lasts. Stand up. Lock in. Execute. Let your life be the answer. Anger is a powerful emotion. It burns hot. It takes over the mind. It clouds judgment. And if left unchecked, it destroys more than it builds. Most people waste their anger. They lash out. They complain. They scream. They throw blame around. And in the end, they accomplish nothing. The fire burns and leaves nothing but ashes. But anger, when harnessed, becomes something else entirely. It becomes fuel. It becomes energy. It becomes a weapon you can aim at the things that matter. Instead of letting it consume you, you put it to work. You take that raw emotion and you channel it into discipline, into effort, into relentless action. Think about the times you were angry at failure, at betrayal, at disrespect. That fire inside you wanted to explode. That's the moment most people lose control. But if you can pause, if you can take that rage and compress it, you create pressure. Pressure that drives you forward. You don't waste time striking blindly. You focus. You push harder. You work longer. You train with intensity, and you build something lasting out of what was meant to break you. That's how anger becomes fuel. Your enemies want you to fail. They want to see you fall apart. They want your anger to eat you alive because then they win without lifting a finger. They know if you stay stuck in frustration, you'll destroy yourself. So you flip the script. You weaponize it. You wake up earlier. You train harder. You study deeper. Every ounce of fury gets converted into output. Every insult becomes another rep. Every setback becomes another hour of work logged. That's the transformation. The anger doesn't own you. You own it. You command it. You use it to outlast everyone who doubted you. Anger is energy, and energy can be directed. You can let it scatter in every direction until it fades away, or you can aim it like a laser. When it's scattered, it's wasted. When it's focused, it cuts through obstacles. That means you don't argue, you don't fight battles that don't matter, you don't waste your fire on petty things. You conserve it for action. You put it into building your body, your mind, your craft, your mission. The more anger you feel, the more fuel you have. You don't run away from it. You don't suppress it. You use it. There's a reason the strongest people often come from the hardest struggles. They felt anger at their circumstances, at their enemies, at the cards they were dealt. But instead of letting that anger break them, they turned it into work. They turned it into late nights and early mornings. They turned it into calloused hands and sharp minds. They turned it into resilience. They let the anger push them past comfort, past excuses, past the point where most people quit. So when the anger comes, don't fear it. Don't let it boil over into chaos. Grab it. Hold it. Direct it. Let it push you into motion. Let it drive you to prove them wrong, not with words, not with shouting, but with undeniable results. Every time you feel that fire, that's another gallon of fuel poured into your tank. You don't slow down. You don't give up. You keep moving forward, harder, faster, stronger, because that's how you turn anger into fuel. Discipline is the ultimate revenge because it is the one thing your enemies cannot take from you and the one thing they never expect you to master. They expect you to lash out, to lose control, to waste time chasing payback in petty ways. But discipline is a different weapon altogether. It's silent, it's consistent, it's relentless, and it leaves no opening for weakness. When you commit to discipline, you are telling the world and your enemies that you will not be broken, you will not be distracted, and you will not stop moving forward. That is a form of revenge far more devastating than anger or retaliation. Discipline builds you day by day. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce itself. It just compounds. It's the early morning alarm that you answer while others sleep. It's the workout you finish when excuses tell you to quit. It's the meal you control, the money you save, the hours you invest in becoming sharper, stronger, and more dangerous in your own way. Every disciplined act is a strike against those who doubted you. Every routine you follow is proof that you're not like the rest. And the longer you sustain it, the more undeniable it becomes. Your enemies may laugh at you, mock you, hope for your downfall, but while they waste energy on noise, you are quietly stacking victories. You are quietly building momentum. Discipline is boring to them because they don't understand it. They want quick results, quick satisfaction, quick revenge. They want drama. They want chaos. They want you pulled off your path. But when you stick to discipline, you deny them all of that. You give them silence. You give them consistency. And in the end, you give them the crushing weight of your success, built slowly, methodically, without their permission and beyond their reach. Discipline doesn't just build results, it builds character. It forges the kind of person who cannot be stopped by circumstance, who cannot be swayed by temptation, who cannot be controlled by emotion. That kind of person is untouchable. That kind of person becomes the enemy of mediocrity, the nightmare of weakness. And when your enemies look at you and see that level of control, it's not just a win for you, it's a defeat for them. Because they realize they can't shake you. They can't manipulate you. They can't stop you. Every act of discipline is revenge because it proves them wrong in real time. They thought you would fail, but you don't. They thought you would quit, but you don't. They thought you would lash out and self-destruct, but instead you build yourself stronger. You're not controlled by the past, by anger, or by what they did. You're controlled by discipline. You're on your mission. You're locked in. And nothing they do can touch that. Discipline takes the fire of revenge and turns it into something permanent. Anger fades, motivation fades, excitement fades, but discipline remains. It's there when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you don't feel like it. It carries you forward when everything else is gone. That's why it's the ultimate revenge. It doesn't just win once. It wins every single day you keep going. It shows your enemies that no matter what they tried to do to you, you rose above it. You sharpened yourself and you became more than they ever thought possible. And you did it not with noise, but with quiet, relentless, disciplined action. Build yourself into their nightmare. Don't mistake this for petty intimidation or theatrical threats. This is method. This is craft. This is the cold, steady work of becoming so competent, so disciplined, so unyielding that the people who counted you out cannot recognize you anymore. They expected a broken version of you, scattered, reactive, loud. Instead, you become efficient, quiet, and unstoppable. You train until your weakness becomes indistinguishable from strength. You sharpen skills until your presence alone rewrites the expectations they had for you. That is how you turn their confidence into dread. Start with the fundamentals. Strength is earned one repetition at a time. Skill is built one deliberate practice session at a time. Reputation is forged by one reliable action after another. There are no shortcuts. There is no overnight metamorphosis. You rise through repetition, through the small things that other people call boring. You answer the alarm. You show up when it hurts. You study when it's easier to scroll. You choose restraint over impulse. Those small choices stack like bricks. They form a wall between who you were and who you are becoming. Your enemies don't fear flash. They fear permanence. They fear the slow, inevitable increase in your capability that no single moment can explain. Be tactical in your development. Identify the areas where they think they can touch you and fortify them. If they attacked your confidence, you cultivate competence until you no longer need validation. If they mocked your discipline, you turn your routine into ritual. If they took opportunity from you, you build new opportunities with relentless resourcefulness. Map their expectations, then demolish them with practical improvements. This isn't about revenge that hurts them directly. It's revenge that removes their leverage. It's the quiet dismantling of the reasons they believed they could harm you in the first place. Adopt habits that scale. Habits are the machines that work when motivation dies. Make your training non-negotiable. Make your study habitual. Make your health a baseline, not an option. When habits run the day, you don't need to fight your later self for discipline. You don't waste willpower deciding whether to be better. You simply execute. Habitual excellence is boring to observers, but lethal in results. Your enemies will notice not the one-time spectacle, but the accumulation. Months and years of work that leave you far ahead and them suddenly surprised by how far you've gone. Harden your mind. Being their nightmare means they cannot destabilize you emotionally. You build emotional resilience the same way you build physical strength, with exposure, practice, and recovery. Learn to sit with discomfort. Learn to respond, not react. When provoked, don't hand them the satisfaction of seeing you unravel. Instead, maintain composure, use the moment to gather information, and convert their attempts at disruption into fuel for your plan. The calmer you become under pressure, the more terrifying you are to people who bank on chaos to win. Master a craft until you are indispensable. Competence breeds confidence, and confidence is visible. When you are the person who can solve the problem, lead the team, close the deal, or hold the line, your enemy's options narrow. Their attacks become less effective because they can't remove what they don't understand how to replace. Invest in skills that create leverage, communication, execution, technical mastery, strategic thinking. Let every skill you acquire be another column in the structure of your invulnerability. Finally, be relentless in your consistency. Night after night, week after week, you put in the work while others seek shortcuts. You accept setbacks as data, not destiny. You adapt and you come back harder. The result is not just success, it's the appearance of inevitability. When your enemies look up, they see not a person who survived a moment, but a force that has been building without pause. That is when you have become their nightmare. That is when their confidence crumbles because they can no longer foresee a path to your defeat. That is when every slight they ever dealt you turns into a brick in the foundation of your rise, and you stand above it all like a wall they cannot breach, and a presence they cannot ignore, and a future they cannot derail. Outwork, Outlast, Outlive. That is the formula. That is the path. Most people want quick wins, instant recognition, fast results. They sprint hard for a moment, they burn brightly for a short time, and then they collapse. They don't understand the grind. They don't understand the price of endurance. They don't understand that real victory belongs to the one who shows up again and again long after the others are gone. You don't need to be the loudest, the flashiest, or even the most talented. You just need to be the one who refuses to stop. You need to be the one who keeps pushing, keeps grinding, keeps stacking effort day after day until everyone else has broken off and you are the last one standing. Outwork. That means doing more than anyone expects of you. It means getting up earlier, staying later, putting in the extra reps, reading the extra page, taking the extra step. Outworking others doesn't always look glamorous. Most of the time it's quiet. It's the hours nobody sees, the sweat nobody applauds, the sacrifice nobody thanks you for. But those hours add up. That effort compounds. While others celebrate small victories, you are building an empire of consistency. While others are comfortable, you are preparing. Outworking means you do what they won't do. So you earn what they can't earn. Outlast. Talent will quit. Motivation will quit. Excitement will quit. But if you are still there, still grinding, still putting in work when the wave of hype has died, you win by default. Outlasting is about durability. It's about understanding that the game is longer than people think. 1 week of work means nothing. 1 month of discipline means nothing. What matters is the year, the decade, the lifetime. People will underestimate the power of showing up every day without fail. But that is the weapon. When your enemies fade, when the doubters lose interest, when the critics move on, you remain. You are still sharpening your blade, still fortifying your body, still building your mind. Outlasting doesn't require brilliance. It requires stubbornness. It requires patience. It requires the refusal to die out before the mission is complete. Outlive. This is the long game. It is not just about today, not just about tomorrow. It's about creating a trajectory so strong that you eclipse every obstacle over time. To outlive is to design your life so that it continues to rise while others fall off. It is about health, discipline, mental strength, and resilience. It is about surviving storms, setbacks, betrayals, and failures and still pressing forward. It is about being there when everyone else is gone, standing as proof that no opposition, no enemy, no struggle was strong enough to erase you. To outlive is to make time your ally. Every year you continue, every year you refuse to break, every year you build deeper roots and stronger foundations, you are proving that nothing can uproot you. The combination is lethal. If you outwork, you gain ground faster. If you outlast, you maintain ground longer. If you outlive, you hold ground forever. Together, they form a shield no enemy can pierce and a sword no obstacle can withstand. Because while others play short-term games, you commit to the endless one. While others bet on luck, you bet on endurance. While others fade, you remain. Outwork them in the present. Outlast them in the grind. Outlive them in the future. That is how you make their victories temporary and your rise inevitable. That is how you ensure they cannot compete with you. Because competition requires presence, and you will be the one still standing when all the rest are gone. Silence is your weapon. Most people underestimate it because they think power comes from noise, from shouting, from making their presence known. They want to argue to prove, to show. They expose themselves in their need to be heard, and in that exposure, they give away their strategy, their emotion, their weakness. Silence is the opposite. Silence is control. Silence is discipline. Silence is the refusal to let your enemies read you, the refusal to let them see what's coming, the refusal to give them anything they can use against you. When you master silence, you turn absence of words into presence of strength. Silence disarms. When people expect a reaction and you give none, it unsettles them. They push, they provoke, they test, and you remain calm. You don't rise to the bait. You don't give them the outburst they crave. Your silence forces them to face themselves. It forces them to wrestle with their own insecurity and their own weakness. In arguments, silence is often louder than shouting. In conflict, silence shows who has the patience, who has the composure, who is truly in control. Silence shifts the battlefield from noise to time, and time always favors the disciplined. Silence builds focus. Words scatter attention. Talking about plans feels like progress, but it's not. Silence keeps your plans locked down, protected from scrutiny, insulated from sabotage. While others announce their goals and wait for applause, you quietly prepare. You move in shadows, stacking hours of effort without broadcast. And then when you finally step forward, when the results speak for themselves, there is no warning. Silence gives you the element of surprise. Silence gives you the advantage of execution without interference. Silence makes you unpredictable. People want patterns. They want to measure your reactions, to gauge your temper, to anticipate your moves. But when you stay silent, you give them nothing. They can't tell if you're angry, if you're calm, if you're plotting, if you're unaffected. That uncertainty becomes their burden. It gnaws at them, distracts them, weakens their resolve. Your silence becomes their noise. Your calm becomes their agitation. They fill the void you create with their own fear and doubt. That is how silence becomes a psychological weapon. Silence amplifies your actions. When you don't waste time with talk, your actions stand alone. And actions delivered without warning, without build-up, without explanation, strike harder. You don't argue about discipline, you live it. You don't debate about success, you show it. You don't announce your resilience, you prove it by standing tall after storms. In a world of constant noise, silence cuts through like a blade. People notice it more than words. They remember it longer. They respect it deeper. Silence cultivates strength within. When you embrace silence, you create space to listen, to observe, to think. You learn more from others when you are not filling the air with your own noise. You catch details, you notice weaknesses, you gather intelligence. Silence trains patience. It forces you to wait, to endure, to resist the easy gratification of responding. It hardens your mind because you realize you don't need validation. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove anything in the moment. That strength grows internally until it radiates externally without a word. Silence doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you are weak or submissive or afraid to speak. It means you are choosing your timing. It means you are conserving energy for the moment when it matters. Silence is a weapon because it allows you to strike only when the strike will count. And when that moment comes, your silence beforehand makes the impact louder, heavier, undeniable. Your enemies will realize too late that the quiet was not emptiness, but power held in reserve, power waiting to be unleashed, power they never saw coming. Victory is proving them wrong, not through arguments, not through shouting, not through some dramatic confrontation, but through results that cannot be denied. Your enemies, your doubters, the people who whispered behind your back or laughed at your ambition, they don't respect words. They don't respect excuses. They don't respect promises. They only respond to outcomes, to visible, undeniable proof that what they believed about you was a mistake. That proof is not handed out, it is earned. It is earned in silence, in work, in pain, in repetition, and in sacrifice. Victory comes when you no longer need to tell anyone who you are because your life itself declares it louder than words ever could. They said you couldn't do it. Good. They said you didn't have the discipline. Good. They said you would break, you would quit, you would fall apart when pressure came. Good. All of that doubt, all of that negativity, all of that condescension becomes fuel. It becomes weight you lift. It becomes miles you run. It becomes hours you study. Every time they bet against you, you add it to the fire. And instead of wasting energy trying to convince them, you stay quiet and you build. Because the only revenge that matters, the only response that silences every critic is success earned in the open and forged in the dark. Victory is not in proving them wrong for one moment. Victory is in proving them wrong every single day you keep going. It's in the mornings you rise when they expect you to stay in bed. It's in the decisions you make to stay disciplined when they assume you'll slip back into weakness. It's in the persistence you show when failure tries to crush you and they expect you to surrender. Victory is showing that their vision of you was limited, small, inaccurate, and that you've grown into something they can no longer even measure. Proving them wrong doesn't mean chasing their approval. It means you no longer need it. You stop playing by their rules. You stop trying to explain yourself. You stop waiting for them to acknowledge your progress. You let the results stand as the evidence. You let your achievements speak in a language they cannot argue with. And the more disciplined you remain, the more consistent you are, the heavier that silence becomes for them, because they cannot deny what is right in front of their eyes. True victory is patient. It takes years, not days. It takes 1,000 repetitions, not one lucky break. It takes resilience through storms, persistence through setbacks, faith in the process when no one else believes. And that's why it hits so hard when it arrives. Because while they wasted time gossiping, mocking, and doubting, you were building. While they waited for you to fail, you kept rising. While they measured you by your past, you built a future that outgrew their imagination. Every obstacle you face becomes a test. Every failure becomes a stepping stone. Every scar becomes proof that you endured. You collect those experiences not as burdens, but as weapons, reminders that you cannot be broken, reminders that their doubt was just noise. And when you stand tall after it all, when the results shine through discipline and persistence, that is the moment of victory, not loud, not theatrical, but undeniable. The kind of victory that leaves your enemies with nothing left to say. The kind of victory that proves them wrong not once, but forever.